This morning, politics is starting strong in January. State lawmakers return to Austin here in the coming days. And how will Donald Trump's campaign promises affect Texas when the new president takes office in 2 weeks? A rare interview with a county judge who is unapologetically conservative.
A lot of folks didn't know what to expect when you got elected. What do you think people get wrong about you?
Tarrant County Judge Tim OHare on the campaign promises he kept and what he did not expect after taking office. Plus, billionaire Elon Musk heavily investing in Cameron County, Trump's promise of mass deportation, and the changing politics along the border. A lot to discuss with the Cameron County Judge, Eddie Trevino. And in Travis County, keeping the mentally ill out of jail is getting closer to reality this new year. County Judge Andy Brown on that and how Travis County is now leading the way with child care.
Inside Texas Politics with Jason Whiteley starts now.
Good Sunday morning and Happy New Year to you. I'm Jason Whiteley. 2025 is starting off fast politically here. Two big events we'll be watching for. The Texas legislature reconvenes a week from Tuesday, January 14th. First on the agenda will be electing a new House Speaker. Then 2 weeks from tomorrow, President-elect Donald Trump gets sworn in as the 47th President of the United States there on the west front of the U.S. Capitol. A lot of Texans making that trip there to be there with him for it. This morning, though, we will be spending this program with some of the most influential county judges across the state. Up first, a county judge who is unapologetically conservative. Tarrant County Judge Tim OHare does not sit down for a lot of interviews, but this morning he's taking our questions on the campaign promises he has kept, what the future holds, and what people get wrong about him. Judge, thanks for having us over. We appreciate it.
Happy to have you here and good to be with you.
2 years under your belt here, half your term is done. You fulfilled a number of your high-profile campaign promises. You lowered the county's property tax rate. You cut $58 million from the budget, I believe is the number I read, without any layoffs. How did you do that?
So yeah, we did a lot of things that had never been done here in Tarrant County before. We cut property tax rates, and you know the Commissioner's Court in Tarrant County sets the property tax rate for the county taxes and the hospital district taxes. We cut both of them below the no new revenue rate 2 years in a row. So we've done a lot to reduce property taxes. We've done a lot to reduce the budget. One example of a thing we did with the budget, when we first got here, they were regularly budgeting for 245 positions in IT that they could not regularly keep filled. So they might fill 10 of them but lose 8, fill 8 of them, lose 12, 240 to 245 positions. So we just eliminated them, the positions, didn't lay off anyone. That savings alone was about $30 million. And since we did that in October, or I guess that was September of 23, we haven't had one complaint from anyone in the county, elected official, staff member, not one, saying we don't have enough IT support.
Judge, I've known you for a long time. We've covered you for a lot of years here. When you ran for this office, you came in as a reformer. I'm going to bust things up, the usual way of doing things. What did you not expect when you got into this chair right over here?
We had some people that were here in the county that had risen to positions that, quite frankly, they never should have gotten in. And so we've had to make some changes, and we've replaced some folks. We've got some really good folks in. Some people, they had just maybe lost their passion for the job or their desire to do the job. We had some people here in the county that were coming in sometimes 4 hours a day, working from home all the time. That's just not the way to get stuff done and the way to handle things. So that's probably been the biggest surprise. I think another surprise was how easy it was to actually reduce the budget. You know, you mentioned the $58 million. It was $8 million we reduced it by in the 23 budget we passed.
It was easy to do?
Easier. You asked me what was most surprising, how easy it was to do. I don't know necessarily that I would say easy, but easier than I would have anticipated. We did the $8 million reduction. At that year, I believe we were the only taxing entity in the entire county. You know, what is it, 41 cities, 20 school districts, the water district, community college. We were the only one that actually reduced our budget without cutting services in any way, shape, or form. This year, the operating budget was cut another $50 million.
A lot of folks didn't know what to expect when you got elected. What do you think people get wrong about you?
You know, politically, I'm conservative. I would tell you I'm very conservative, but I can get along with anyone. I can work with anyone. And a lot of times the people that are conservative, and I would say you're the exception, but the media likes to paint a picture of, oh, look at this evil dragon man or woman, which is just almost never actually true. I mean, they've done it with President Trump. They've done it with people in Congress. And what I think maybe people underestimate is I was successful in private business, and I was able to figure out how to solve problems and handle things with people from all walks of life. And, you know, it's actually kind of an advantage. You walk in the door and they think you're going to be, you know, this green-eyed monster, and then they find out, oh, actually you're a nice, normal person who loves his wife and kids and likes to treat people well and wants employees to be happy. It actually makes it easier for them to get along with people and for them to approve of what you're doing.
Will you run for re-election?
Now, do you think I should have to answer that right now?
That's why I asked you.
So I'm 100% intending to run again.
Do you have higher political aspirations, though?
No.
Do you really?
No, I really don't. And nobody believes politicians when they say that. So I remember being in your studio. It wasn't you that asked, but I remember being in your studio while I was mayor of Farmers Branch. And I was asked, what are you running for next? And I said, well, I don't know that I'll run for anything next. And they said, oh, come on, you have to have something in mind.
And here you are, yeah.
And I didn't. And I can assure you what I hadn't, at that point, I wasn't thinking, I'll move to Tarrant County in 3 years and I'll run for county chair. That's the last thing on earth I was thinking of. I don't have something I'm trying to do because I'm an old dad. You know, I'm 55 and my kids are 13, 12, 10, and 7. I'm going to be right here raising my kids with my wife until they're out of high school. And by that point, my last kid graduates when I'm 66 years old. So I don't know who wants somebody to come in at that age, but I could do this job and still be at home at night to eat dinner with my family. I could do this job and still coach my kids' sports teams and serve in our church. So this was the perfect fit for me, and I love what I'm doing.
Judge, thank you.
You're welcome.
Judge OHare also in the news recently for wanting to close a voting location at UT Arlington that young voters used. OHare told me that he's not giving up on that in the new year. We discussed a lot with him. Our entire interview is on this week's Y'all-itics. Ready to download this morning wherever you get your podcasts.
When we come back here, childcare is a growing expense for families all across Texas. Will the legislature address it this session? Travis County already is. And then to Brownsville and how the county judge there is keeping in touch with the world's richest man. Inside Texas Politics, back in a moment.
Welcome back to Inside Texas Politics. Over the last few years, we've heard a common theme from county judges. Texans do not have access to the mental health care that they need. Our next guest, though, is getting close to changing some of that in Travis County. County Judge Andy Brown making significant progress on a new facility to keep the mentally ill out of jail. He also shared how Travis County is leading the way with child care. Judge, welcome back to the program. Happy New Year to you. You know, last time we talked to you, you talked about two things that you're really hoping Travis County can make a dent in. That is mental health, and secondly, in child care. Let's take these two separate items here, because you guys have been working towards both of those goals. Mental health diversion, where does that stand now?
Mental health diversion is moving along. We've got some funding set aside here at the county level. We have great partners with Integral Care, that's the mental health provider in Travis County. And so the idea is, if we could put this thing on the property of the Austin State Hospital campus, which is centrally located here in Austin, we are hoping to partner with the medical school, the UT Medical School here, as well as our mental health provider, Indigent Healthcare folks, to build something that when people get arrested, the police here in Austin and Travis County and the sheriff's department will have one place to take people. They don't need to know if they're getting diverted to treatment or if they're being arrested necessarily. They just know that there's one door where they can take them. Yeah. And then on that back end, we figure out, is it somebody that needs to be arrested and booked? Is it somebody that needs to be booked but then given a chance to go through the mental health diversion center? Or is it someone that just needs to get that mental health help directly? Once they're in that mental health diversion center, the models that I've seen around the country have sort of a mandatory portion to it where they have to stay there for 14 days, like in Nashville, to receive treatment, get stabilized. And then in Nashville, nobody is let out back onto the streets to an unstable situation. They either have to go into some kind of housing or supportive housing or go with a family member. We've also got a bill that's, I think we hope to have this session that will help us get it established like we want to on the state hospital campus. And so, nothing's going to happen before session is over. But my hope is with this, bringing this company on to help design and build it, if we're able to work with folks at the state level to get it established at the state hospital, that we could hopefully start construction sometime soon after the legislative session.
The other big priority you and I have discussed in the past is childcare, and people are just being priced out of it. Moms and dads can't afford it, and they can't afford it. They can't take part in the workforce. Where does this stand now?
Yeah, so we are the first county in Texas, the first entity in Texas to pass affordable childcare on the ballot. And I think Sonoma County may have done this in another state, but we're one of the very first nationally to do this as well. And the idea is that this will help eliminate the wait list of parents who are trying to go back into the workforce, maybe to get job training and improve their lot in life, but they can't because they have a newborn and they can't find childcare that they can afford that is high quality. And so that's a several thousand person wait list. It is about a 24-month wait list for people here in Travis County currently. But Travis County voters invested in this by supporting it in November, and it passed with 60% of the vote. The program will start in January. So the funding will start in January. And so what we're putting together is a way to increase childcare slots available to people here in Travis County in that first year. And in the second year of it, our hope is to help new providers pop up, especially in places in Travis County where there are childcare deserts, to make sure that our economy can continue to flourish, that people who want to enter that workforce can do so and know that their kids have great high quality childcare. And it's not only going to help our economy short term by helping employers here and helping individuals, but it's also long term. It reduces the medical costs for people 20 years down the road. It increases high school graduation rates, 18 years down the road. There's a lot of benefits to our economy today and also in the future.
Judge, always good to talk to you. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Now to the fast evolving Rio Grande Valley. It's turning red politically. International trade with Mexico has created explosive growth over the last few decades. And Elon Musk's SpaceX has been a game changer recently. But what will it all look like as we head into the next Trump administration? Cameron County Judge Eddie Trevino joined us from his office in Brownsville. Judge, welcome back to the program here. What do you expect the border to look like under a second President Trump administration?
Well, our hopes and expectations are that it'll look similar to what we see today, but in a much more positive and continuation of the economic boom that we've been experiencing over the last several years.
President-elect Trump has promised that mass deportation. How's that going to impact Cameron County and Brownsville and the area?
If it deals with the fact of trying to deport criminals and illegals or undocumented that are criminals, I don't think anybody has any concern whatsoever. I'm reminded often that under the Obama administration, they deported more individuals than any other current or recent administration. So that in and of itself, I think is A-okay. The idea, though, of just rounding up individuals who may not have the documentation but are currently part of the fabric of our region, of our state, of our country. They're working, they're being educated, they're raising their families, they're being productive members of our society and our country. I think that doesn't sit well with a lot of individuals, a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of people who watch and keep track of our economy.
As you look to the new year, Judge, the biggest challenges facing Cameron County are what? And what are the biggest opportunities, do you think?
I think they're one and the same. The opportunities are the same as some of the concerns. We're hopeful, obviously, that SpaceX will continue to expand, and with a mind towards protecting and addressing the environmental concerns that are being raised. The new one is the issue with regards to the sound, the sonic booms. We had the launch, I think, 5 weeks apart. FAA's recently approved the request, it appears, to go up to 25 launches per year. So that's basically 2 a month. I think if we get more and more accustomed to the launches, obviously I think it'll be a much more common and less intrusive situation. We're hopeful that they're doing their work and that the research that they've indicated, that their engineers are saying, is that this sonic boom is nothing more than a sound wave, and will not create either short or long-term damage to any of the property or the structures.
It sounds like Elon Musk and SpaceX have really made a significant impact there in Cameron County.
Yeah, several $billion investment will do that. Having the attention of the whole world with regards to the next mode of space travel. Plus, he wants to make Starship the next mode of travel, and having those manufactured, tested here, obviously, I think can bode well for us. So we want them to be successful, and then obviously the relationship that Elon has established with the president-elect. I hope that continues in a very positive manner.
Have you met Elon Musk yet?
Oh yes, we've met several times. We do communicate every once in a while. Don't speak all the time, but we met. Yes.
How do you communicate, out of curiosity? You guys text each other, or you email, or go through staff?
Well, we go through staff, but we also text. I try not to bother him unless I really got something good or important to say.
Well, all right.
Like wishing him well on the last launch, things of that nature. And
you wished him well on that one?
Absolutely, yeah.
Judge, it's good to see you again. Thanks for making the time for us.
Thank you, Jason.
All right, a lot to talk about politically here in the new year. The roundtable is ready when we come back. All right, time now for Reporters Roundtable to put the headlines in perspective. Back with us for the roundtable, Bud Kennedy is here from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. I am Mitra with us in Austin at the Texas Tribune, and Bernadine Steptoe, political producer at WFAA in Dallas. Let's start with you on this. It's really never too early to start speculating about the next election, 2026. A lot on the ballot. John Cornyn, of course, will be up for re-election, waiting to see what happens in that race, but so will Greg Abbott, Dan Patrick, Ken Paxton, Sid Miller, Glenn Hagar potentially, Dawn Buckingham and others. Who's getting a promotion, do you think?
That's a good question, and to start with, you got to wonder where you got to ask, who's leaving some of the top offices too, and that starts with Greg Abbott. There's a lot of speculation about what's next for him. Whether there's something down the line in a potential administration. If you've seen how Greg Abbott has kind of conducted times of office, he's been really kind of outspoken and on immigration and border security. You've seen some of the trips he's taken to build business relationships across the globe. So he has been pretty keeping it tight to the vest with what he's doing. While Dan Patrick has said he's planning to run for re-election as lieutenant governor. Obviously Ken Paxton and John Cornyn have shared some swipes at each other. So you could speculate about a Ken Paxton challenge in the Republican primary against Cornyn. But a lot of these things are kind of also just depending on some openings that might come up in the federal administration. So a lot of moving parts here too, and don't forget that there are also maybe some people who want to leave politics, and there's things, that Texas A&M chancellor position is opening up too. So there's a lot of things that people could be looking at.
Yeah, talking around the sides there, we've all heard these same rumors about people potentially leaving politics and taking that Texas A&M chancellor position. But let me ask you about Governor Abbott. If he was going to be taken to the federal government with President Trump, why didn't he go in 2016? Why hasn't he gone in 2024 and 2025 here?
I think he likes what he does. I think he likes being here. He doesn't want to go for anything less than maybe a Supreme Court appointment.
Yeah.
And I think that he really enjoys. He's become the most powerful governor in my memory. We always said the governor of Texas didn't have any power. The lieutenant governor, Speaker of the House really ran the state. Greg Abbott has shown through his appointments and through his control of the budget, DPS, all the agencies, that he's in charge. And we always thought that if he ever stepped down, a few years ago, people thought Jay Nelson might be a candidate someday. I don't know if she still wants to do that. There will be centrist candidates emerge. I think the question is, if Ken Paxton runs for Senate, who runs for Attorney General? We don't have a name to fill in that blank.
That's a good point, Bernadine.
And also, if some of these congressional representatives decide to step down, who will fill those positions? It's going to be an interesting dynamic, and also the primary is going to be where the news is, because that's where all the challenges would be, because as we have said, the Democrats don't have enough control. Yeah. And they don't have any candidates, but it's going to be quite interesting, and Ken Paxton is going to be the one that will be watched, and to see whether or not he challenges Cornyn, And we do know that John Cornyn is saying that he's going to run. I want to make sure that we do say that, but still, that's going to be a very interesting race.
Still a long way.
We're talking about well, it's not a long way off because the
It's not
filing opens in less than a year for the 2026 primary. It's not a long way off. You have to get things together now. And remember, this is the very narrow Republican primary we're talking about, not a presidential year. It won't be as big a turnout. It'll be a real intense group of Republicans who were very conservative.
Let's stick with this topic for a moment here, but Bud brought up a good point. You know, there has been talk about what Bernadine said, potentially Ken Paxton moving over and running against John Cornyn for Senate. Who would take? Who's being talked about out there as a potential next AG if that happens?
Well, you always, look to the legislature to see who's been kind of outspoken and leading on certain committees and stuff. And so, there's a couple of, some of this may also shake out too with the House Speaker's race and how, who's getting appointed to lead some particularly high-profile committees as well. So you look there first, and that's going to be where some of the names that kind of pop up of who makes a name for themselves in this legislative session.
Yeah,
but there's no names now.
Right.
That would point to Senator Hughes.
Now.
Yeah, Brian Hughes from Indiana, a good point about that. And the Speaker's race might kind of hash some of this out for us. And of course, with the legislative session 10 days out, that would maybe give us some more hints as well. We always appreciate you watching Inside Texas Politics. We're back next Sunday to take you back inside our state of our political system here and hope you can join us then. Take care.